This is probably going to make a lot of people mad. And the whole topic of this video is to kind of analyze, is ReZero Season 4 overrated? Are people blindly glazing as they've already made up their mind based off of their impression of the source material? They've created an agenda and they're walking backwards to the point where people are unironically saying shit like this. And it's no surprise, right? Come on, it's Okeanomics. I don't really believe anything they say is really anything objective. This is a blind glazer of ReZero, which is really funny because this right here is the episode of the decade. Do you not realize that this is more egregious than Frieren Season 2? Remember how Okeanomics was setting up Frieren against Steel Ball Run, talking about the disingenuous glaze and the bandwagon movement from the previous seasons and how it doesn't deserve that. And I agree. But at the end of the day, this guy just hates anything that is within some world of magic, fiction, right? Fantasy world, in order to set up ReZero. Saying episode of the decade, I think, might be the most retarded statement that I've heard about ReZero Season 4 Episode 3. But even then, I will acknowledge this. Everybody has their own entitlement to their opinion, especially for a work of fiction, something that you enjoy, a show, a video game, whatever art. This is subjective. You are totally entitled to think this is the episode of the decade. This is the most compelling work of anime that you've ever seen before. I am totally fine with that, right? And perhaps I'll make another video about this specific post and also shit like this. But the focus of this video has to do again is this one, right? Yesterday I made a video topic called, is this a top 5 ReZero episode? And in the intro segment of this, I said something that pissed a lot of people off, which is crazy to me because I feel like this is very lukewarm. So the context, right? The context. Before I go into this, I need to let you know, I think most people watching this understand where I'm coming from. I think that it's always a vocal minority of the most radical and extreme people who are simply just bandwagoning off of some sort of, agenda movement, right? And they're being disingenuous. I think that this episode, Season 4 of ReZero Episode 3, was like a high 8, low 9. It was a memorable episode for sure. In my opinion, there are much more significant episodes in Season 1, such as Episode 7 when Subaru gets killed by Rem and Ram, right? And he's crying as he realizes all the good efforts and the rapport that he built up meant fucking nothing as they've been looking at him in such a suspicious way. And what a reality check that was. That was truly monumental to me. Episode 3 even for the aura farming moments of Reinhardt coming in to help defeat Elsa, who seems to be this undefeatable vampire thing, right? Such a nice hype moment that just shows the aura in that moment and how significant Reinhardt is. How about Episode 15? Of course, Rem Twister. Possibly one of the greatest ReZero episodes of all time. How about Episode 18? The dialogue-driven Rem, I love Amelia moment. These are just a couple examples of episodes that took many, many episodes to build up to have an emotional payoff in a climax. And those matter to me more than this episode could ever. However, this episode, without a doubt, was an amazing episode. It was a very interesting and a unique take in ReZero, giving off this psychological thrill and horror. There is no emotional payoff. We're just getting started, and this is the first hurdle. And the gory shit that we saw, Anastasia's torso being cut off and, fighting against Ram, for sure, I think is so fucked and elicited great reactions from me and many others. But do you think that this is episode of the decade? First of all, this post is just retarded. I'm not even going to consider this, right? But I'm here to argue, is this even episode of the year? Is this even episode of, ReZero? Can you confidently say this was truly that amazing? Because some of the comments that I'm about to show you right here are of that mindset and are actually arguing against me about this. And it baffles me. And all of it starts from this, right? A comment I made about JJK in terms of production value shitting on ReZero, right?
Even
what do I say here?
To episode in terms of the horror aspect and the written narrative of what's going on,
but in terms of production value, listen, it does not even come close to episode of the year. Like every episode of JJK, I think just shits on this. And that comment pissed off so many people because they can't confront the objective truth, and all they can do is have selective hearing, and as soon as you say something negative towards ReZero, they think you're a blind hater. Someone like me that's created over 400 videos about ReZero analyzing and glazing this shit more than anyone else, probably more than these fucking so-called source material readers. I'm not wrong about this. In terms of pure production value, which by the way is not limited to action and animation. I'm going to talk about that too. There's a lot of misinformation going on. I believe that Culling Games shits on this episode. And that doesn't mean that this episode is bad. This doesn't mean I'm disrespecting Studio White Staff's production staff either. In fact, there's a really thoughtful analysis about this episode. The production value was not bad at all. It was amazing. There's many great sequences and you can read the thread to get an idea what it was. But when you compare the industry's greatest fucking talents coming together to deliver Jujutsu Kaisen, it's not a comparison. It's not even in the same fucking category of the weight class. And it's not a bad thing. This is just a reality of the animation industry and how Studio White Fox, with their limited resources and talent acquisition, can't compete with Studio Mappa and JJK creating this generational fucking anime. And there's nothing wrong about JJK being amazing, and there's nothing wrong about ReZero being compared to, again, a standard which I am presenting as probably the most elite and strongest production value to be accounted for this anime of the year, episode of the year title that I describe. And so many people get so fucking mad. So let's read some of the comments. So right here is an actual funny one. JJK definitely doesn't, right? This is the part where I'm talking the production value. Episode 3 and episode 11 of Culling Games are weaker than this. This episode has amazing direction, good boards, and great character acting animation. I completely agree with this. But do you understand how this comes off? You, by your own logic, is telling me that 10 out of 12 fucking episodes are still shitting on ReZero. Just thinking about that for a second. Think about that. Is this even something to be proud of? Again, being worse, just, what's it called? Just by textbook definition, having a, comparatively worse production value doesn't mean your product's bad. I am just, again, providing you this like standard of eliteness that I think is probably one of the best, and to show how a show like this will actually not be able to compete like that. And there's many other ways then again a show like this can then compel the audience. But like, this is ridiculous. It honestly is so crazy when you try to like prove me wrong and you say 10 out of 12 episodes still are shitting on this one. Come on, what are we fucking doing? I feel like you're putting way too much value and production value when it comes to an episode of the year discussion. And right over here too, right? They're cooking you, bro. How are they cooking me? They're cooking me because some of these comments have a couple more likes than my comment. That these are what? Brigading of children in group chats as they see me talk anything negative about ReZero in a relative light, not even saying it's bad, just saying that it is not episode of the year, just an objective fact. Then you get mad and you mobilize your fucking retard nerds in your group chat to like this shit, and suddenly it proves me better. They're cooking me. What do you think is happening? Do you think that the average person is going into these videos trying to argue for why ReZero is actually bad? Or do you think there's going to be more people that are insecure fanboys that just want to, again, blindly glaze, mobilize, or even show up to a Rumble stream of all place and say they're cooking you, bro? Get the fuck out of my face. I don't want people like you in my community at all. Get the fuck out of my face, retard. So listen to this. I feel like you're putting way too much value in production value when it comes to episode of the year discussion. Isn't it crazy that I think production value that defines animation quality to be an important variable when judging animated episode of the year? Of course, this is a very sarcastic comment, but let's be serious right now. An anime is literally animation. I understand that an anime is more than just 2D frames being connected and showing fluidity. There's more to it than that. That's why I create this overall definition called production value, right? And when I am analyzing this parameter, which is such a general, concept that defines how good and polished an anime episode is, and suddenly that's not a good metric, I agree, it is an important quality, but the clip felt like you were making it to be much more than it actually is. There are way more important qualities an episode can have than production value, and this is the really fucking annoying part. More important qualities an episode can have than production value. You can't even name the qualities, okay? Listen to this. The qualities that you're mentioning are probably other variables that aren't just pure animation, such as voice acting, soundtrack, art design through compositing, VFX, and direction of story through storyboarding. These all make up what I define production value. Delusional people are coping that production value is limited to action scenes, okay? This is misinformation. It's crazy. Whenever you start arguing with these light novel retards, anytime their shit gets compared to a popular battle shonen, they think that production value is only about action sequences. This is so fucking wrong. You can't even define the qualities, and when I describe it, when I carefully measure it, it makes a lot of sense. Production value is not limited to action scenes, okay? In order to create a separate category that separates them from any scrutiny of animation, while screaming about how amazing their source material is. This is DEI behavior, by the way. This is straight up fucking DEI behavior. At this point, you're comparing a light novel against other anime, not anime against other anime. And let me bring to you another example of what I mean by production value, right? What you're about to see here is a clip of Wistoria Season 2, Episode 1. You don't need to know the story. I just want you to watch the scene, which is not an action sequence. This part is pure conversation dialogue of a guy having a monologue in his own head as he's about to do a test. This is a test writing scene in a classroom. Watch the sequence be played out. Shion cares the most. The mind break angle. But it's not completely... Shut up! Play the scene! Fisheye lens. We're coming at an angle right here. Shut up! Play the scene! Watch this. And I have no talent. Just say magic is sword. Oh my god. This monologue though. Yep. It's so good. Magic is... Oh, what? Aspiration. You see this right here? The imagery, the writing, the depth of voice acting, the direction of the scene. It's so good. It is. Just say it. Just say it now. Listen to this. Listen to the analysis. Wow. That is a textbook example of what direction means. Yes. This entire sequence is simply them writing on piece of paper to do a test. There's no crazy fight choreography happening. No. I'm telling you, man. Slice of life moments, just conversation moments. It can be done like this. Yes. That was fucking amazing. The soundtrack, the monologue, the voice acting, everything about that, the visuals. Holy. So he really did just end up. Do you understand how this again example completely proves my point in how I describe production value? This is not about action sequences and solo leveling bright lights, Unga Bunga Demon Slayer amazing fight, JJK aura farming. Those also, by the way, are a byproduct of direction, aura. The writing is baked into the action and you feel compelled. This is not mindless aura farming. You are just ignoring the story and the writing present to degrade a popular show that's catered toward a younger and a much more immature audience to make sure that you as an elitist light novel reader of a niche series can feel justified and superior over others. Just fucking loser behavior. So again, I am providing you that example to portray that production value is not just about pretty animation. There are so many other qualities that you are not even able to describe that I said here that makes up this scene. When you have conversation-driven anime, there are other categories, not just impact frames and smearing, but more of this direction that we're talking about through the storyboarding. This was storyboarding. Storyboarding, again, is the act of what? Connecting, these 2D frames, rather than doing a one-to-one adaptation of the manga panels to envision how these manga panels Or in this case, light novel, which is even harder. You don't even have manga panels. You just have key light novel art and written passage, and for the director to understand and visualize how this dialogue will present itself on the screen. This is all part of production value. So now that you understand this, do you understand how I am so frustrated at people saying this shit? It's so beyond ridiculous. Look at this comment too. Nah, this is very good. I'm not even a ReZero show, but this episode was straight up a 10 out of 10. And listen, if you want to believe that it's a 10 out of 10, I don't argue with you. Everyone is free to believe whatever they want to believe. But don't for a fucking second think about like this crazy separation of dichotomy. Look at this here, and I don't give a damn about production value. The direction is interstellar. The voice, like, you're literally describing everything that makes up production value, but separating it, because again, you think that action sequences are totally separate. I would never pick something like the JJK with shonen slop story and top tier production over a masterpiece like ReZero, writing and direction over production every single time. What are you even talking about? This is actual retardation and just the blind leading the blind. Production value is not defined by animation. This is such a delusional take and is only made by those that are in denial. The direction you speak of, which is makeup of voice acting, soundtrack, and storyboarding from understanding the writing, is all part of production value. You're the one ignorantly calling JJK slop and reducing it to a Sakuga fest when the story and the writing is clearly present in which you ignore. Blindly hating while also blindly glazing is what you're doing like the rest of the NPCs. I'm not wrong. Listen, if you don't like the Jujutsu Kaisen story or the characters, that's totally fine. And same with solo leveling too. But time after time, I hear so many disingenuous fucks that completely ignore the actual story present because it's not like their favorite story. It's not their type of story. It's too simple for them. And they want to feel pretentious and like pseudo-intellectuals by preferring a more complex and a story that has more depth. A complex story doesn't mean it's better. And a simple story doesn't mean it's worse. It's all about the execution of said story. There's a reason why JJK and Solo Leveling and Demon Slayer is so compelling to the masses. Yes, it appeals to the lowest hanging fruit, and action sequences are able to invoke these emotions that makes you feel moved, in which you determine this is anime of the year, this is episode of the year. But to say that this is just slop, that there is nothing present, and to completely not even understand what the fuck production value is into separate from writing and direction, it's the same shit that you see on Twitter anytime you see aura moments in Battle Shonen and people say there's no writing. You're so fucking retarded. The writing is literally baked into the aura. There's a reason why Higuruma versus Yuji moment. I bet you most people don't even understand the whole motive of Itadori Yuji, this main character who's an innocent boy who was thrown into this world of Jujutsu society because his grandfather passes away. That gives him a mission of, you know what? You help people. You make sure people have a proper death. And as he that's consumed by this world and Sukune, and the Shibuya incident happens, and the guilt and the overwhelming sin of death is on his hands, and he can't wash it off. And as he gets exonerated in this dialogue versus a lawyer who also is crashing out and falling down a dark path when he used to be such an idealistic, defense attorney. And for both of them to come to a resolution, it's beautiful. But here's the thing. Retards like this that completely ignore Battle Shonen simply because it is that category, don't even understand a story, will ignore it and call it slop. Listen, it's all subjective, and you're free to like ReZero more. But don't for a second act as if like the story or the writing is not pleasant at all. It's just sheer retardation. Here's another one too. When ReZero fans says an episode is episode a year, I strongly doubt production value is what they are thinking of. Rather, the story beats an emotional weight and direction. Again, these things are a byproduct of good production value. People just have this weird thing. They have to separate ReZero and other written narrative shows that is not just action as separate categories to make them feel free from the scrutiny. Since ReZero has never, by the way, here's the thing. Episode 15, 18 of season 1, right? Rem Twister. How about, the Rem different moment. That is amazing production value. This is amazing production value through the direction. Production value is not just animation quality. There's more to it than that. And beyond that, then there is, again, this concept that I call story alignment, of whether or not you actually give a fuck about the story, right? To say that, like, these are not good production. No. Episode 15, 18, 7, 3, right? Or even like the climax of the white whale subjugation, right? Shit, I would say even in season 2, right? Emilia's haunting kiss of death moment. Or like even getting eaten by the rabbits and shit, which is, again, that's a different topic I'm going to make about this topic later on. I'm just providing you examples of other episodes. The production value was there. This is not Unga Bunga fighting scenes. It carries through and shines through. This episode is, in a dishonest way, in a disingenuous way, this is a cheap shock thriller of horror themes that people are misrepresenting as the greatest fiction of all time. Listen, if I really was a ReZero hater, I would say that, again, the horror that we saw in here was just cheap thriller. But that's a lot. I wouldn't say that. I think this is a really cool, again, experimental episode where they delved into a separate side of psychological thriller and horror that we haven't really seen that much recently. Last time I felt this haunted and shocked might have been like the rabbits eating Subaru up. That was fucked up. How about, Emilia's kiss of death? That was fucked up, right? There are scenes like that. If it were only Criterion, right? So hold on. Since ReZero has never been well known for crazy fights in animation, if it were the only Criterion, then nobody should have had any problem with Solo Leveling winning Anime of the Year. But here's the thing. Nobody said, again, right? When I say production value, you guys are so disingenuously presenting that animation is the only thing while you separate writing and directional and emotional weight. It is such a dishonest way to present it. In a nutshell, it was a horror episode which was good, but things referred above is not even comparable to other air anime episodes. So saying that it has Anime of the Year is blind glaze and nothing more. Production value isn't bound to action scenes only. There are ways to direct conversation-driven anime, such as Nippon Sangoku, that surpasses this. This episode was a shocking horror that was amazing, but to say any more is dishonest. There's been many other cases in ReZero, right, that has been more impactful to me, and I already mentioned them in the video. So here's the thing. Nippon Sangoku is another anime airing right now, which I think is probably one of the best produced animes. Not because of its aura farming fight scenes. Look at the pilot episode, episode 1, or even episode 3 that we just watched, which is all about this tense moment within the room of the Emperor as this fucking Lord Taira fat-ass dictator is intimidating and dominating the room. With anyone that speaks up, that just dies. The storyboarding present in this episode, right? The art style, the direction through soundtrack, voice acting, the storyboarding, the experience you get is phenomenal. This is a classic example of an episode that is not action heavy, not just like battle shonen, yet clearly this is much better produced, in my opinion, than this episode. Beyond that, then we can talk about story alignment. If you just prefer this type of story more, then you can enjoy it. But don't for a fucking second try to separate and misrepresent my ideas and to categorize and separate production value from story and writing to somehow present your niche show, your underrated show that can't compete with JJK, which it doesn't even need to, and come up with such a retarded defense. It's so dis-fucking honest, bro. I agree, it's glazed, but my point was there more nuanced than that. Things you like, what is this? Bakaka was reason why this episode does not deserve to be a contender for episode of the year. In terms of production value, every episode of JJK shits on this. How do you fucking come to this conclusion? When I'm talking about episode of the year contender and I talk about the weak storyboarding, am I limiting it to only that? People have selective hearing and want to just paint such misinformed narrative as possible. And you know what? I don't really blame you because it's hard to listen to the entire fucking video, but please just fucking listen instead of typing as soon as you hear something that you don't agree with. In terms of production value, 10 out of 12 episodes of JJK shits on this, according to a ReZero fan. But beyond that, there are other reasons why this shit can't be episode of the year. Because again, a cheap horror thriller means nothing to me compared to emotional buildup and a payoff that we've seen from season 1. Is anyone straight up really gonna say this episode actually felt more than some of the moments in season 1 and season 2? Are we serious right now? Genuinely. And if you feel that way, you are totally free to do so. It's a subjective thing. These awards, these episode of the year, anime of the year, if you loved it that much for reasons I can't describe because it's so unique to you and your experiences, go ahead. But to me, other criteria matter. And for you to then reduce it based off of me comparing to JJK and create this fucking thread of misinformation, fucking retarded. It's so fucking stupid, bro. Okay, this is really annoying too. The whole like ROM versus RAM. I hate this guy. I'm sorry, Kaka, but this is an L take. An episode doesn't need to just have peak storyboarding and animation to anime of the year contender. When the fuck did I say that? When did I ever say that the only criteria for anime of the year is this? I'm talking to you about, can this episode, can this anime be this, criteria? And beyond that, I describe reasons why I think it's limited. Doesn't mean that this is the only judgmental variable. Nowhere did I say production value in terms of ambitious storyboarding is the only thing that matters. It is a significant component that falls short compared to other projects that aired last season. If you want to believe that this is anime of the year just by writing, then go ahead. But by that logic, I'm sure Liar Game fans would think that their anime, no matter how chopped it is in animation, is the best due to the writing. Do you guys know what Liar Game is? This is an anime that got stupidly hyped up due to the mind games and the fact that it has a Madhouse brand name. Turned out we watched it, it's fucking garbage. It is. The production value is fucking garbage in terms of the animation and storyboarding. I think the soundtrack, the voice acting, and the story and the way that it is directed is interesting enough. So the story alignment is there. Again, a subjective thing that I prefer the story, but the way that it's presented is so lackluster, but I'm still willing to watch it, right? This is the way that people are basically judging anime of the year. They care nothing about what objective parameters and variables make up animation. They only care about how amazing their story is in the source material. They made up an agenda, then they walk backwards from that and try to argue with you off of retarded takes that, if you think about it, just makes no sense. These rankings are subjective based on whatever viewers thinks is important. The difference between me and you and other monkeys that are crying here is that I can actually define what I'm measuring and nothing I said is false. Get the fuck out of my channel with your L comments. Use your brain and stop misrepresenting my ideas that are present in the video. Shit like this is actually fucking cancer and I banned them immediately. Why? Because you have people, this is the thing, people don't watch videos. Many people don't watch the full thing. They simply glaze over and they hear something that they don't like, then selectively they just start hating. Most people never do due diligence. These are retards that have the attention span of a fucking insect and go off of headlines. They read the comments, they see something said, and they say that must be true, and then they just start brigading that shit. That's literally this entire fucking video comment thread. This is so fucking diabolical here. I watched Ellen Historians react to this live, and him and his fans started saying, best anime episode of all time. Like, their glaze and cope is insane. They just glaze some anime and hate some anime. They're so biased law. And you know what? They have all the rights to do so. There's no reason for someone not to be biased towards the stories that they like. I just ask you to be at least fucking honest about it. If Ellen Historian wants to believe that ReZero and this episode was truly the best anime episode of all time, and this isn't just circle jerking or memeing, hey man, you're free to believe that. Who am I to tell you that this episode wasn't? But to me, it doesn't even fucking come close. And when I describe the reasons for why it doesn't and present you so many fucking evidence, written analysis, just commentary, describing, feeding it to you, specific measurable parameters, describing why, and you are in denial, fuck you, get the fuck out of my face. Read the book. Stop LARPing. This shit is literally the best media ever written, no bias. And you know what the funniest comment about this is from this retarded ReZero glazer? You would think that a person that says read the book would have reading comprehension. I hate these type of comments because I don't care how good the novel is. He is talking about the anime. I didn't even say anything about that. You are the one LARPing. This shit is nowhere near the best anime episode of the year, let alone of all time. I am talking about how biased Ellen, his story, and his fans are, if ReZero is the best meter or not, lol. It's fucking crazy, bro. This is what we're dealing with. Blind fucking glazing retarded children that act supreme and elitist and snobby because they read ahead. But if you think that they actually read, no one is comparing the story to the light novel. Everyone is comparing the anime. The parent comment is talking about the blind glaze about this specific episode being best of all time. What the fuck does ReZero source material have to do with this? The only one LARPing is you as you furiously type after getting triggered because someone dares to compare ReZero anime against other amazing titles that came out recently. You would think that a reader of a book would have more reading comprehension than the average monkey in the YouTube comment section, but I guess there's no difference, bro. And the worst part, 26 fucking likes compared to the 6 likes here. I'm telling you, these are all just brigaded comment threads. These are not real people. And it frustrates me that they're so fucking dishonest. I have realized that there is blind fucking glazing radicals in my fucking comments and in my videos that watch me. I want none of you. I hate these fucking people. They disgust me. All they do is just have disingenuous takes and try to gaslight and lie and manipulate everyone else off of their individual experience. And when you think and read about this discussion, bro is fighting a ghost. What are we doing right now? How stupid could you possibly fucking be? It's insane. And yet the reply is getting more likes, which says a lot about blind ReZero glaze. Yes, because again, do you think that average people go into comment threads and start arguing for why ReZero is overrated? No, this is just gonna be the vocal minority of people coming in, brigading, saying, oh my god, no, we need to let them know. Go in and like this. These are kids in group chats mobilizing and correlating likes and a comment because bigger number is the truth to them, bro. If the animation and storyboarding is what makes the anime great, then JJK is obviously better. If we're talking about the story, the thought out things and emotional value, JJK is nowhere near ReZero. It's not even close in my opinion. And you know what? You're free to have that opinion, right? You're totally fine. But we're right now talking about the anime and what the anime is comprised of. And story is one part. Story alignment, again, what you're talking about is another thing. I can open-mindedly watch many anime and appreciate the story for what it is, but still acknowledge that it's not for me. For example, Akane Banashi. I think this is another textbook example of a show that is not just aura farming battle shonen. This is a shonen title. It's about rakugo, Japanese storytelling, poetry in motion. Yet the direction and the production value is so fucking good. To say that like the production value is bad because there's no fighting is so fucking stupid. This is another classic example that blows ReZero out the water in terms of, again, story-driven narrative dialogue, just as Nippon Sangoku, in my opinion. Doesn't mean that this is bad. This episode was amazing. But to then ignore everyone else and to only brigade off of your favorite series because you only consume this is so fucking dishonest. There were people genuinely telling me that my comment about how JJK shits on ReZero in terms of production value was the most disrespectful thing I could have said about the animation industry. I banned them immediately. So their take is this. When I compared it to like that, it is a mean thing I said. But when I say that, am I coming from an angle of shitting on the team at Studio White Fox? Like Nicholas Flight for JC Staff for One Punch Man. Are you serious right now? You know what I think is more disrespectful? Not the fucking lie and the misrepresentation that you are just, manipulating from my words in my videos. But the fact that you completely ignore other projects like this underrated godlike production value that just can't hit the main live streams, what's because of the substance and the storytelling and the medium that it's done through, and to ignore that I think is even more fucking disrespectful. It's fucking disgusting. This isn't the only anime airing right now. I'm watching 30 separate anime at the same time, looking at it, analyzing it, going with an open mind, and giving you analysis off of it. So who do you think is going to have a better gauge in the overall sphere of anime? Me? A content creator that does this shit for a living? That, again, do you think that it is in my best interest to say this shit about ReZero? If all I care about was the views, I would glaze ReZero and lick its fucking asshole to the fucking top. And that would probably get me more support. But guess what? That viewership, I don't want that. The worst thing, the most insufferable thing is to be audience captured and basically so fucking cucked that I can't even speak out my true thoughts anymore because these fucking retarded, just light novel, ReZero anime, glazers, they only consume this. They expect me to basically just be a voice for them. Fuck you. If you enjoyed my reactions for how sweaty I was, great, you enjoyed it. But beyond that, to expect me to then just glaze your show no matter what, despite all the other, that's not fair at all. It's so disgusting. I would rather lose the fucking viewership and be true to myself than blindly fucking glaze. I think I am, at this point, 400 plus fucking videos made in the fucking playlist. And you're gonna come at me saying that I'm somehow a traitor. I am being disingenuous. This is crazy gaslight. And again, can only come from such a vocal minority of a crowd that I fucking despise. And I wish they would never watch my fucking videos, bro. Look at this shit. The final comment is so amazing. We do have an agenda, unanimously as ReZero fans, to want everyone to experience this media. Nobody recruit me or anyone. We do it out of passion. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? This is the same shit as Free Run Season 2. Remember how I was talking about Free Run Season 2 being so overrated? And then we had a comment just like this. There was a Free Run tart saying, yeah, I know. You don't understand, Kaka. There's only a couple episodes right now, and it shouldn't be, ranked 2 in my anime list or whatever, but it's all off of how good Season 1 was, and we want to maintain that momentum. They're literally admitting it. These are just tourists who are only watching one thing, and they have an agenda. There is no objective comparisons or even any fair discussion about all these other anime airing right now. All these fucking different anime, even last season, not a single consideration. All they do is watch one anime. They don't even understand what the fuck production value is. They go on to create retarded arguments about how action sequence is the only thing dividing production value, while the story, direction, soundtrack, by the way, again, things that are part of production value, it's like a separate crowd. You are so slimy, so fucking disgusting. And the way that they call this episode of the year, episode of the decade, forget about the Witch of Greed Echidna. This is the greed we talk about in the Bible. I think this shit is overrated. And overrated means that the anime is actually really amazing. Something being overrated can only happen because of how amazing the series is, whether it be the previous seasons, whether it be the source material. And I'm sure season 4 will have its time to shine. But this was the first hurdle, a psychological shock horror theme that I think was executed well, amazing, memorable, maybe top 5 episode for you of ReZero, but to say episode of the year, episode of the fucking decade, how retarded is this? This is so far gone delusional, and it's even worse than fucking Free Run Season 2 agenda posting. Next video, we're gonna actually talk about this post, and this as well, because this right here, I'm with Donut, man. It is so dishonest how these blind glazers just set their show up. And you know what the funniest part is? Here's the best part. I love poetry. I love like ironic things. And just like for the reason, right? Kids like this will say, no, I want everyone to just experience this media. People like this are the reason why your show will never go mainstream. People like you or this are also the reason why this show will never be accepted like that. You understand what I'm talking about? These are desperate people that wants to disingenuously just completely glaze a show to the fucking moon. But the average person, when they see shit like this, and you're overblowing it, and you're so snobby and elitist about this shit, to such an annoying extent, who could support this? And that's why Return to Monkey, that's why Battle Shonen is the best. This is why Oonga Boonga, monkey shows like JJK, Solo Leveling, Demon Slayer, they're all united by their lobotomy. They simply feel. They don't think. They don't understand what production value is. They don't understand why the anime is so good. But all they know is that when they watch something, it moves them, and that's it. And then it multiplies. While you have niche shows like this that obviously can't appeal to the same crowd, but even beyond that, the desperate attempts from these fucking losers are exactly the reason why the series is being held back, and I laugh at you. I actually laugh at you, and I think it is like beautiful that again, You are your own source of misery. Next video, we talk about this concept, bro, because this is fucking ridiculous.